I don't know if you had the same issue that I had when I put students into groups, but what would happen is I would place students into groups and then I would share a slide deck with them. And the group leader was supposed to make a copy and then share the slides. Well, that just took up a lot of instructional time that I could have been using with my students to be learning or doing another activity. So, what I started to do is I found this resource from Future Design Schools, and it's called File and Link Generator. You must have this spreadsheet because with this spreadsheet, you're going to have this magic word pop up generator. So, again, you need this magic sheet for this to work. And what happens is here's the end file. So, once I have it all set up, I see right here I have group one, two, three. And then I have all of the links for each of the different groups attached. And so then now I can type my student's name in this column, or I can magically go around and just say your group one, two, three, four, five, six, and then the students would just click on their correct group. If I teach multiple classes, I can take this row and I can say, okay, here's class number two. And I can maybe even add another row above here and put class one, class two, class three, and so on. And I could create it that way. I could also do different tabs at the bottom once it does its magic. So again, this has been super helpful for me to create groups because in Google Classroom, it doesn't do it very nicely. I would have to go in and it's super time consuming. So this is quick and easy. And we're now going to learn how to use this spreadsheet. So the first thing is you want to grab this template. Once you have this template, you're going to go to File and you're going to go to Make a Copy. Once you make a copy, you might want to call it whatever name you might need to do. So I'm going to call it HAL23. And then from there, I would maybe look at your class size and decide how many students do I want to work in a group. So typically for me, I like to use the magic number of 3 in a group. Um, just because I feel like every student will participate. But again, it depends on what we're kind of learning and the class and how many students are in my class as well. So sometimes I might go up to 4. So right here, you could also do this with partner work. I'm going to name my groups. So I'm going to put group 01. And the reason I'm adding a 0 in front of it is because when I resort it, it goes directly in order. Okay, so now that I have a few of those, it should, if I drag this down, copy all of those down. Looks like it did that correctly. And I'm going to change the font just because that's what I like to do. And now what I'm going to do is in my Google Drive, I need to create a folder. And the reason I want to create a folder is because I want that template of resources to go in that folder and not clog up my Google Drive. If you don't have a folder, it's just going to go in your drive, all of the copies. So first thing again is have your template. So right here, I'm going to have my students do this Iron Chef activity. I'm going to come into my drive and I'm going to just call it group work for today. You can call it whatever you need to. Then I'm going to move my template into that folder. So again, that template is now in my folder. Now I can take this link, go back to the Future Design School, and I'm going to click Generator. And I'm going to click Generate Copies. Continue. I want this to say, after you allow access, and you might have to repopulate it again after you do that. So now I want it to say Iron Chef, because that is the activity that we are working on. And then the next step, it asks for that file link. So again, when we click share, that was the link that was given here. And then once you hit OK, it's going to do its magic. If I go back to this folder, it might take some time, but look, I can start to see my groups popping in here. And again, depending on how many groups you have, depending on how big small the slides are, is probably going to depend on this process of copying all of those slides. All right, so again, we can see these populating into this Google Drive folder. Now what I like to do is up here, once that script is done, I want to hyperlink. So if you noticed under generate, it said generate links. So when you want to make copies of it, that's what you want to do first, is generate copies. Again, make sure you have that Google Drive folder created, because if you don't, all of those copies will just go in your drive and it's going to kind of make things really unorganized. But then after it does its magic of creating all of these groups, which you can see it's still kind of working on, we're up to number 13. Then I'm going to grab this Google folder link. But before I do that, I like to go in and I like to hit share. And instead of everyone can view, I want to change this to editor. Because it's group work, I want my students to be able to edit this slide. That is their slide. So again, I like to go up to the folder because that will change access for each of these in your drive. So again, go to share, make sure everybody in your organization can edit that file. So now let's see what number we're on. I think we're getting close. 21. Okay, so now that we have all of our done, see this little finish button that pops up? We're going to go to generator and generate links. I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to go to my file name and I'm going to go to copy link. Now that I have that link, I'm going to go back to this spreadsheet, paste that link to the folder, hit OK, and look at that. Everything is now linked with the correct slide deck. And this is what I share now in my learning management system with my students. I'm going to go ahead and just sort this from A to Z. Oh, I should have done it the other way, but that's okay. And again, if you have animal names or any other names for your students, feel free to use. You can also kind of gather here and go, okay, these first 10 are for class 1, these ones are for class 2, and then do those different columns like we talked about earlier. But what, again, happens is, let's see here. I think I need to unmerge this. There we go. There. Okay, so now I'm going to go to A, right click, and I'm going to do A to Z. Okay, so now they're right in order. It keeps my template one, which I don't need, so I just want to delete just in case something happens. I always want that template. But then I can quickly see all of those different group numbers. I can click in at any time to see how group 3 is doing on their assignment. And I'm able to, again, have everything in one spot. So then I will assign this through my learning management system as anybody can view. That way they don't edit the links and they're only able to go into their slide deck. Now they are able to go into each other's slide decks and edit because you turn that feature on. So if you do need to fix that, you would have to individually add every single student. So I just trust my students, or I have a conversation with a few, and typically because it's smaller, I'm able to go into that revision history and kind of see who did it because it is smaller group works, and then their name would pop up, and then I can have that conversation with that student. So again, right here is that revision history, and then everybody's name would pop up here. So that is file and link, and how to kind of use it.